Today's project is a traditional drop stitch scarf. And I'd like to thank Tammie Pruitt for asking me to make a video. This is her design, not mine. She discovered how to make a traditional shaped scarf rather than the infinity type. And thank you, Tammie. So let's get on with making this lovely scarf, and you can make one for yourself as well. And for this project, you're going to need some waste yarn and your main yarn. And for my main yarn, I'm using Woolcraft Shetland Heather Aran, and it's a beautiful mottled pink shade, and the shade number is Z003. You're also going to need a scissors and a crochet hook, and I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. I'm also going to be using a small length of yarn, enough to do one row on the cast on edge, and that'll act as a ripcord, and I'll show you how to do that now if you've not come across that before. To start our project, we get our waste yarn, and before we start, I'm going to say I've treated myself to a new Addy king size. Reason being is mine is gone very clunky, and despite all my best efforts, although it still works, it's still fine, I'm going to keep it as a backup. This is my new one. Long story, I won't go into it on this video, but anyway, this one is very much more quiet on the click for the counter. I don't understand why. They must have changed some of the mechanicals inside. So we are going to cast on with waste yarn, over and under, or back and forth, whichever term you prefer, all the way around the bed of the machine, making sure that each of those pins, the yarn has gone under each one of those, all the way back to the beginning. And you know you're right when your yarn is behind the last needle, and that'll work for all machines. Into the yarn feeder, I'm going to do 6 rows of waste yarn. That's my go-to, but if you like to do less or more, that's up to you. I think 6 just gives you enough without being too much, if you know what I mean. But you know, if you want to do more, that's fine. So we're going to do 6 rows, and listen to the click over now. There's hardly any click over at all. Oh, it's just so nice. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of waste yarn. I'm going to chop my tail off and pop it in the middle. This is where I'm going to put my single ripcord in, okay? So just do as if you were going to change colours and pop your yarn in. And just do 1 single row in a contrasting colour to your main yarn. Back to the beginning and snip that off, and that's going to be a ripcord, which will make removing the cast on end so much easier when we get on to actually getting rid of that waste yarn, which is one of my bugbears if I forget to do this. Okay, so let's add our main yarn now, and we'll crack on with the project. And when you cast on with your main yarn, leave a very long tail. Now I'm stretching my arms out from left to right, you can't see me do that, which roughly gives me about 4 feet of yarn. It may be too much, it may be, you know, just right. I'm not sure. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to get a little clip and clip my yarn up so it doesn't get too tangled. Just going to grab one of my sewing clips now, if I can find them. There they are. And I'm using these little, look like mini pegs, I guess. So I'm going to do that. And that's my approximately 4 feet of yarn. And that's going to be for crocheting the end when we get there. Don't panic. I'm not the best at crochet, but I will run you through what you need to do to finish this scarf off. So now we're going to add our main yarn into the machine. Like that, making sure everything's all lined up. I'm going to zero my clock. My lovely new not clanky clock, and we are going to knit 100 rows. Now Tammie, when she did the scarf, she did 97 rows, and that's what her skein allowed her to do. So I'm going to aim for 100, and if my skein is slightly less than that, I'm not going to worry, because we're going to be dropping those stitches, and as such the scarf is going to grow and grow and grow, which is going to be a great thing to see. And I'm so grateful to Tammie for reaching out and saying, do a video on this, Kaz. And I thought, yeah, that's great, I'm going to do that. And that way we can learn together, which is what it's all about, I think. What I'm aiming to do is for us all to learn together. So you crank around now and do your 100 rows. Okay, and I'll see you when we get to the end for casting off. And my yarn's got a little knot in it. I shouldn't have been lazy, and I should have caked it before I started. But I'm so excited to get this scarf out to you. And show Tammie that I can do it as well. So 100 rows, and I'll see you for casting off, okay? Listen to that counter going around, guys. Look at this, listen, listen. Oh, it's hardly any sound at all. And there's no drag on the handle. Because if you've got the older Addy as well, like I have, the drag on the handle when you go over the counter is just immense. But on this one, no such thing. Absolute delight. Right, back to 100 rows, and I'll see you for casting off. I'm at 81 rows now, so I'm just going to show you in case you don't know. Don't forget to gather up your work like that and form it into a donut in the middle. Stop it from dragging on your table. And then we can carry on. And we're on our last few rows now. 97, 98, 99, coming up to 100, and I've still got loads left on my ball of wool. So there we go. We're gonna again cast off now with a long tail because we need to do a little bit of crochet. So I'm putting my arms out like that, right out to left and right, and I'm gonna give myself about 2 feet of yarn or thereabouts in order to do some crochet at the end. I'm gonna chop that off and do the same thing as we did with the other side. Gonna bundle it up like that, and my dog Russ is now barking to come in, so excuse the barking noise. I will go and get him in a minute. And we're going to clip that together again, but you can use a peg or any kind of clip that you've got to hold your yarn together like that in a little bundle. There we go. Now Russ is calling, I'll be back in a minute. Right, with Russ indoors, happy days. We're going to cast off now with waste yarn again. No need for a ripcord this time because the cast off end is always a breeze to remove compared with the cast on end. So again, I'm going to do about 6 rows. This machine is so much smoother. I don't know whether my original machine was as smooth as this, to be honest, so I don't know. So we're going to snip our waste yarn. We don't need a long tail for that, just enough, and crank our work until it falls off the machine. And that's 2 rounds, and your machine will clear the machine and just drop off. Great, and it's come off as well. It's not caught on any of the needles. So we'll move on now to finishing off the project. So this is our work straight off the machine, and we're going to stretch it out as we normally would. And we'll measure that then, and we'll find out what the difference is between the length with it dropped and the length before it was dropped, because 100 rows is not even enough for a beanie. So we'll see what we get with this experiment now. Typical, I've got my ends mixed up. There we go, sorted, lovely. Right. So there's our cast off edge, and there's our cast on edge because we used the ripcord there. So we need to center everything. Isn't that yarn pretty? I don't think it does it justice actually, the camera. There's lots of yellows and pinks and creams. It's very, very pretty. So first off, we're going to seam up the tube on the cast off end. Okay, so that's the plan. And if you're experienced at doing that, then you can fast forward. If not, stay tuned. So this is the way I do it, okay? I like to put my tails on the far left hand side, like that. So make sure they're right on the far left hand side, okay? And then I bring my tube over to the right hand side to make sure everything is nice and even, like that. Just double check that I'm on the left hand side there. Now these stitches can be a little bit tricky to find when you're getting towards the end, so last minute thought, now I think I'll get a couple of stitch markers and mark those 2 stitches there, and hopefully these won't fall out. So you can do that as well if you'd like to. So they're my last 2 stitches, and there are my last 2 stitches on there. So first 2 stitches, last 2 stitches. So I'm going to take 1 stitch like that, 1 stitch like that, and pull through. Now I'm not the best at crochet, okay? Not pretending to be. I am very much a novice, so bear with me. I sometimes do use my fingers to pull through loops, especially here. I can't seem to get the leverage to do it. So this is what we do. Take 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top, all the way along, okay? And this is the cast off edge, okay? So remember to do this on the cast off edge. Just seal the tube as you would normally seal a tube, okay? All the way across to the end. I'll carry on with that now. I'll see you at the end. And here we are at the end, catching those last 2 stitches, and hopefully I haven't missed anything on my way around. And when you get to the end, just grab your tail and pull it through. Bearing in mind this is a very long tail, so I'm going to have to unwind that tail in order to pull it through. So loop that around and pull that tail through, and hopefully we won't get any snags. So pull that long tail through, and then we'll gather that back up and put it back in the peg. Come on yarn, behave. There we go. So tighten that off and remove the waste yarn. I'm going to gather this back up now and pop it back in the peg holder, and I'll come back then. Just wind this back up. Like that. A little twist on it, and our little peg should hold that in place until we need it for the crochet. Now we need to remove the waste yarn from this side, and removing the waste yarn from the cast off edge is usually pretty easy. You just unravel it and it's so much easier than the other side. I'm taking my time because I have to wind around this long tail. I don't want to get that all caught up. So that's what I'm doing here. And I will save that waste yarn for another project. I've got a jar full of waste yarn pieces, and if I was more organised they'd all be labelled in sizes for machines, but inevitably I'll use one for the 46 and it's for the 22 and it's too short. Anybody else do that? So there we go, there's our waste yarn coming off. Hopefully I've not missed a stitch, and no, I haven't. Absolutely amazing. So there's our finished edge. Okay, now we're going to move on and show you how to do the other side, which is slightly different. Moving on to the other side, which is our cast on end, we're going to do exactly the same thing, but remember to follow the line up from the corner at the bottom there. Follow that line all the way up so you get a nice square and not twisted scarf. Just finding that line, which is making my eyes go all googly woogly. And there we are there. There's our matching line all the way down for me there. So again, with our tails on the far left hand side, I'm going to get my crochet hook. Now on the other side we cast off every stitch. On this side Tammie says to cast off every other. So starting at the far right, I'm going to put my crochet hook into that stitch, and normally I would go into that stitch, but I'm not. I'm going to miss that one, and I'm going to go into that stitch, and I'm going to pull that one through. Now normally I would go into that stitch, but I'm not. I'm going to miss that one, and I'm going to choose the next stitch along. So what we're doing now is casting off every other stitch. Okay, and I don't want that one, so I'm going to cast off that one. I don't want that one, I'm going to cast off that one. So we're going to do that all the way down the length now, casting off every other stitch. It's very clever of Tammie to come up with this. So we're going to miss that one, cast off that one. I'll stay with you for the length of this one. Miss that one, cast off that one. And Tammie wanted a more traditional scarf rather than the ones that are the continuous ones. Can't think of the word at the moment. The infinity scarf style, that's right. She didn't want the infinity scarf style. So miss that one, cast off this one. If I can grab the stitch. And I forgot to put my stitch markers in the end of the other side because they do disappear as you get down the bottom. So I might very well pop in and do that now before I forget. So there's my last stitch there. Grab a stitch marker from the thingamajig, and my last stitch there. So there's a tendency to get a bit buried. So we're going to miss that one now because we've just done that one. Miss that one and do that one, pull that one through, miss that one and do that one, miss one, catch one, miss one, catch one, miss one, catch one, miss one, catch one. I'm going to pick up that one there. And this is our last stitch, so we did that one. So I'm going to leave this one as a drop stitch. And hopefully that's right. So I'm going to again have to loosen my long tail off in order to pull it through the last stitch. I'll pull that through and tighten it, and then that's cast off nicely then. Again, taking my time because this is a rather long length in order to do the little bit of crochet to finish off at the end. There we go. Tighten that like we normally do. All done. Wind our yarn back up, put the clip back on it, ready for the next stage, which is a little bit of crochet. Like I said, don't panic. I'm not brilliant at crochet, but a single crochet is, that's the American term, and it's quite a simple one to do, and I'll run you through it and hopefully you can do it. Okay, so all we need to do now again is remove our waste yarn, and this hopefully should be a little easier. We're going to take the waste yarn from that side there, and hopefully pull that out. Hallelujah, how fabulous is that? And then our waste yarn just pops right off. Great stuff. I can wind that up now and use it again. So there's our scarf done. This side is completely sealed off every stitch, and the cast on end is sealed off every other stitch. Okay, and now we'll move on to the crochet part of the project. So before we go any further, let's measure our project. It's 100 rows if you remember, and it's 19 inches long, which in centimeters is about 48 centimeters long. So once we drop those stitches, it's going to be interesting to find out how much extra length we get by doing that. So now we're moving on to the crochet, and please bear with me on this one. I am no great shakes at crochet, so I'm going to do my very best to do this justice for Tammie. Okay, so we've unfurled our waste yarn on the end here, the long tail that we left, and this is the first cast on end where we cast off every stitch. Okay, so I'm using a 4mm crochet hook here, just happens to match my project. How cute is that? And this is a single crochet, so don't panic. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert the hook through those two stitches at the top there. You'll see the interlocking stitches on the top. I'm using those. If you're a more experienced crocheter, you might think, oh my goodness me, what is she doing? But that's the way I'm going to do it. If you've got a better way, crack on and do it that way, okay? So we're going to yarn over and pull through. So now we've got a loop on the hook. Then I'm going to chain one. Rightly or wrongly, that's what I'm going to do, chain one. So I'm going to, and that's going to give us a little bit of leverage to go around the corner like that. And then we're going to go through those next two stitches there, yarn over the top like that, yarn over, grab it and pull it through those two stitches like that, and you'll end up with 2 loops on your hook. Okay, now you can see that they're up about 5mm. You want a little bit of slack on them. You don't want to do this tight, okay? So now we do a yarn over again. Okay, so just loop it under there like that, and you kind of twist the hook at the same time. So under and over like that, and you pull that through those 2 stitches, and that's a single crochet. That's it. So we're going to move on now to the next group of 2. Push our hook through, grab our yarn, bring it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over like that, yarn over, pull it through those 2 loops. That's another single crochet. Moving on to the next 2, push the hook through, yarn over, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull that yarn through those 2 loops and wiggle it, wiggle it, wiggle it. If it won't go, it doesn't always go for me, and I've got to wiggle it, wiggle it. And that's another single crochet. And we do that all the way across, catching those little stitches there you can see interlocking. They'll always remind me a little bit of a coffee bean. And then yarn over again, pull through, so you've got 2 loops on the hook, pull through and pull through, and that's all a single crochet is. That's all it is. And as you do a little bit more, you'll get a little quicker. But if you're new to this, I am certain that you can give this a go. So finish that now all the way across, and I'll see you when we get to the end, and we will double back and we will do another row of single crochet. Tammie suggested 3 rows, and I think that's probably going to be adequate. So thank you, Tammie, for letting me do a video on your discovery of this wonderful scarf design. All the way to the end now, and I'll see you shortly. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and we're going to do a chain 1, because we're going to turn our work now. We need to turn our work around because we need to work the opposite way, and the chain 1 allows us leverage to go around the corner. Otherwise we'd find that our corners were curling over and not staying straight. So I've got enough yarn, I think, at least to do another 1 row. Tammie did 3 rows. I'm just about to start my 2nd row, and if you look at the work there now, you can see that work, you can see the little coffee bean shapes there. So we need to work now into each coffee bean, straight across, and exactly the same thing, 2 loops, and pull through 1. And like I said, if you're experienced with crochet, you can finish off the ends. You don't even need to watch this little bit. So I'm just coming to my last stitch on the end of row 2 rather, and I have not left enough yarn, okay, for a 3rd row. So chances are I've not done that on the end either, so you're going to need to leave at least 3 feet of yarn as a tail on the cast on and cast off edges. I'll probably just graft a piece in here now to continue with the 3rd round, but just to let you know, I'm going to chain 1 at the end there of each row, do a chain 1, and then turn your work, and that chain 1 allows you to take that corner, okay, and that's all that it is really, is just an angle to take the corner. So I'm going to add on a little bit of yarn now and finish the 3rd row, okay, and then I'll join you back. Last 2 stitches, and we need to do the same procedure now on the other end. Now we're through, we can trim our yarn off. I'm going to just leave about 5 or 6 inches, and we can pull that through and call that done. Okay, so there's my single crochet end there. Not too bad for a novice. I'm sure it could be a lot better, but once we drop this scarf, it'll meld in quite nicely. Just need to feed that tail in now. So again, we are going to do exactly the same thing. Now bearing in mind, we don't want to catch any of these loose loops, okay? These loose loops here now are going to be the ones that we are going to be dropping shortly, but we're going to do the crochet first. I asked Tammie for clarification on that one, and she said yes, we need to do the crochet first. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull through, okay, and I'm going to chain 1. And then we're going to go through every loop like we did before, in through that coffee bean shape there, okay? Yarn over, grab that yarn, so you've got 2 loops on, and pull that through. Okay, so go all the way around each coffee bean, do the same thing. Bearing in mind now, as you're working on this end here, that your stitches may start to drop on their own, but that's okay because we headed for that anyway. So 3 rows again, exactly as we did on the other side, catching each of those coffee beans, which are a little looser by the way, so it's going to be a slightly different feel as you're crocheting. That's what I'm finding now. It's quite loose. There we go, through there, through that one. Trying my best not to catch any of those stitches that we need to drop. And because we were casting off on every other one, each of these little coffee beans is a lot bigger than it was on the other side. But keep on going, take your time. This will finish the end off rather nicely. I've just come to the end of my last stitch here now. I've got no more stitches left to do, so I'm going to pull my tail through, and this length of yarn is absolutely perfect length. More luck than judgment, I think. So again, I need to feed that tail in through there, and we'll come back now and we'll start dropping those stitches, and that's the fun bit. And we're back. We have tied in all our ends, and we are ready now to drop these stitches. Okay, so let's go. All we need to do is to grab the end and pull. Oh my word, look at that. A little bit of tension on the bottom, and watch those stitches drop. Now normally dropping stitches is anyone's nightmare, isn't it? But this is so much fun. Watch the stitches drop all the way down. And here's our drop stitch scarf completed. Isn't that pretty? Really, 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 really pretty. I'm really happy with it, and I think it's awesome. My crochet isn't too bad. It's not the best, guys, all right? But you get the idea of how to make this wonderful scarf. Now the big question is, with this scarf, do I add tassels or not? Now Tammie didn't add tassels to hers, but I'm thinking maybe we could add tassels. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you prefer tassels or just to leave it plain. But other than that, I would call this project done. Thank you again once more to Tammie for allowing me to make a video on her design and her discovery on how to do a traditional scarf rather than one of the infinity ones using the drop stitch method. If you wanted to add some tassels or some fringing onto the end of your scarf, I've got a book here that's 5 inches wide. So I'm just going to take my yarn and wrap it around my book so that every length of yarn is going to be more or less the same size. That's the way I do it. Wrap it around there like that. And then if you want to add a fringing onto the end of your scarf, you can do it that way. I'm just going to do a few here now. So there we go, we'll stop there. Trim that one off, and then we can trim along the spine of the book there like that. Great stuff. And now we've got some 10-inch length fringing for our project. In order to add it to the scarf, take a length, fold it in half. Now you can either do it with a crochet hook, or you can do it with a darning needle, whichever method you prefer. I'm kind of a darning needle girl rather than a crochet hook, so I'm going to pop it onto a darning needle like that, put the double loop through, pop it on the end like that. This is my way of doing it. And then I just thread the tails through like that, pull tight. That's my way of doing it. The other way to do it is, of course, to hook through with your crochet hook like that. But I'm a little bit slower with crochet, as you know, but I will try one just to see if I can do it, and then you'll know you can do it. So you're going to hook that through like that. So you can do it that way as well if you want to, and then yarn over, both tails over, and pull that through. So either way is going to work fine. if you want to add a tassel to the end of your work, tassel, fringing, whatever you want to call it. I need to put another one in the middle there because I've missed a gap. Okay, and you can do that if you want to. So now I've done it with a crochet hook, I'm going to carry on and I'm going to add some fringing. I'm feeling more confident with my crochet hook, so I'm going to put one in the center there like that to take up that gap. And take up my loop and loop it through like that. It is actually quicker with the crochet hook. There we go, there's 3 fringing done on there already. So I'm going to carry on along there now and I'm going to do the fringing, and then you'll have the option then whether to add fringing or not. And just to let you know, I'm adding my fringing in each of these natural little holes that have appeared with the single crochet. So I'll be putting fringe in each one of these little holes as I work across. And there's one end finished with the fringing. I rather like it. I think it's really, really nice and finishes off. Like I said, my crochet isn't the best in the world, but I do think it kind of tidies up my crochet. And all we need to do then is to even up the ends and just chop it off a little bit. Not the best scissors for this job, but you can leave it ad hoc if you want to. But trim across, make it nice and level, nice and even, or leave it ad hoc. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so that's the fringing. I'm going to crack on and do the other end now, and then that'll be it. So in the end I added fringes to both ends of my scarf, and now we will see how 19 inches, starting off before we did our drop stitches, how long it is now. So without stretching it too much, we have got 16, 27, crikey Moses, 36, I'm not stretching it too much, 46, 51, 50 to 51 inches, 130 centimeters after dropping those stitches. Wow, that's a massive increase, isn't it? So that's quite a large scarf. So there we go, that's the project done and dusted. You can make fringes if you prefer, or you can leave it plain. Either is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you, Tammie. So if you like the video, please subscribe and comment and like it, and that would be absolutely fantastic. If you make one, tag me on Instagram so that I can see it and Tammie can see it, CraftyCaz33. Don't forget to join my Facebook group, and you'll see the link up there somewhere, okay? And you can join my new Facebook group, and Tammie's in there as well. So I'll see you there, and thanks again for tuning in. Much appreciated. Take care all, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now. Bye.